thank you for this moment, this chance to give my testimony. So all those that are still in the dark, that haven't found the light, and that are lost, and then for those that are found and that haven't seen the light, let them be related to what I have to say tonight. And everybody, I guess, sit back and enjoy. Amen. Amen. Well, my childhood started out as I grew up in a good home. I grew up with loving parents. Somewhere, I guess, around the age of 12. I was a high school championship wrestler in Montana for 3 years in a row. And I decided to hang out with the wrong people. And during that time, I decided to do what they did because I was willing to do anything to be accepted. I started out smoking weed and breaking into places on the weekends, just kind of having fun with my friends. And somewhere graduated to something bigger. I guess around the age 15, 16, discovered meth. And that was the downfall of everything. From that moment on, I discovered that I didn't want to slow down, I wanted to go faster in life. And going faster in life is great until you can't go that fast anymore. Your body can't keep up with it, your life can't keep up with it, and your family can't keep up with it. You start doing things to your family that you would never dream about doing, taking from them, lying to them. My mother and my stepfather were always there for me. They always gave me a hug, told me they loved me, made sure that I didn't want for anything in life. They didn't give me everything I wanted. I always had to earn what I got. From my first car to my first job. If I wanted to skateboard, I had to get a job and pay for it myself. So I learned responsibilities. And I learned morals. It wasn't for those morals that I learned back when I was a child, I probably would have never been able to pull myself out of the depths of despair that I was in.
Oh, no.
As I grew up, I tried stopping that lifestyle and still hung around the same friends. And as everybody that's been there knows that does not work at all. There's absolutely no way you can pull that off.
Right.
Although every one of us have tried. Not a good idea. So as I grew up, I decided, well, maybe church was the thing for me. So my sister would take me to church. Well, I discovered that you have to pay attention in church, and stealing from the concession stand in church does not work. So again, we're back to square one. Well, I decided that I'd go back to drugs. That was a higher, it wasn't a power, but it was a higher. So I continued down that road until I was in my early 20s. When I came up here to North Dakota, I grew up in Kalispell, Montana. And I still think I should have stayed there, but that's a different story. As I moved from Kalispell to Washington, I met my real father, who has been a member of the Hells Angels for as long as I was alive. It was probably one of the worst mistakes in my life, but I had to try and fill a void, and drugs weren't filling it, no matter how hard I tried. So I moved when I was 15, 16 years old to Washington. And I knew some things were going to go wrong when I had to bail my dad out of jail with my life savings to meet him. And all this time, my mother and my stepfather, Mike, had always been there to support me. They knew that sending me there was a bad idea, and they knew how it would end. But they knew that there was nothing they could do but to let me discover that side of the world. Mm-hmm. So during this time, I decided that Jesus wasn't going to be part of my life. And that was another huge mistake that I later learned in life, that I needed to change. So as I lived with my dad, he brought me up to North Dakota to deal drugs. I learned how to be an outlaw, and everything about that, something attracted me to it way too easily and way too fast. I started doing things that I never dreamed I would do, never thought I would ever do, and I did it with ease. So as the story rolls on, my dad got busted in North Dakota and got taken back to Washington. Bounty hunters found him at the airport. I was stranded up here, I was 17 years old. So, against what I was brought up as, I decided to do everything I thought I could do to get back home. Sold the vehicle. Well, that didn't work out so well. Rolled the vehicle just outside of Minot. Got thrown in jail, went to prison for the first time. I'm 47 years old and I've been to prison 8 times. And I spent 27 years behind bars. All that time has given me plenty of opportunity to find God. And there's a couple times where I just poked my head in and said hello. but I never stuck around. Because I was afraid that I would miss out on all the fun in life. Well, what I thought was fun, I continued to do. Every time I got out, I never planned to stay sober. Never planned to work a program. I went through treatment because I had to. That was the quickest way to get a parole cut and get free. Then I could get high again. Well, many years go by when I finally watched, just like everybody else, people going back and forth to church. And I thought, well, let's do something different. So I discovered that there was another kind of, not really a church, another kind of group that people hung out with. And it was an Ostrich circle, which is an ordinance circle. And so I started getting involved in that. And as some people in here know, they watched me not grow, not fall backwards, but not move anywhere in life. And in life, it's to grow and to prosper and to find happiness and to find your way, your journey. And I thought because I hung out with these people that I was cool, that they respected me, and that that's what I wanted to do. I soon found out that that wasn't the case. I got out and did the same thing over and over again. Well, this last time in prison 3.5 years ago, I got into a horrible accident. I wasn't drunk and I wasn't high, I was sober at the time. And this is when I call it divine intervention. This is when I didn't know what else to do. I was driving along Rosser and Red Oak Mandan in a brand new vehicle I'd just gotten that day. And somebody appeared out of nowhere and I hit them. And being a criminal, we teach ourselves to do a lot of dumb things. My first instinct was, I just killed him. My second instinct was go. So unfortunately, I took off. Made sure the person wasn't dead and left. Called 911. 3 days later, I kept calling the hospital to find out how he was doing. 3 days later, an investigator called me and said, Mr. Wilson, we know you got into an accident. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And inside I knew, I had this gut feeling, now's the time. Now's the time you're sober, now's the time to start changing. It's not always about getting sober. Anybody can get sober, we've all done it. Staying sober and changing is what's going to make the difference.
Come on.
I said, you know what, you're right, let's start this conversation over. Yes, there was an accident, yes I hit. He said, what do you want to do about it? I said, I need to turn myself in. I was tired of lying, I was tired of cheating, I was tired of stealing, I was tired of destroying everything that had come into my path. I've been married 5 times. I've destroyed every marriage. Not her fault, my fault. It's hard to take responsibility for your own actions. But over this last sentence, since I've been able to change, take responsibility and blame myself for everything that I've done. And I mean everything I've done. My parents taught me a way of life, the correct way of life, and I chose to go the other way. So it's up to me to choose to turn around and go back down the road that I was taught.
Come on.
So when I got to the State Farm, I started thinking about things. And I watched everybody going and practicing and doing their different groups, and I thought, you know what, I don't need to go to a group. I didn't need to go to church. I have church. Church is in my heart. So I needed to pray to God. And I prayed, and I prayed. I wanted direction. I learned how to pray differently this time. Instead of asking for new cars or hot girlfriends or good buddies, ask for direction. I said, whatever journey you decide to take me on,
Yes.
I'm willing to go that way.
Come on.
I will need your help along the way. I will need guidance. I will ask a lot of questions. I will be very difficult, and I will be needy. I'll be very needy. And in doing so, he answered by letting a lot of grief out of my heart.
Yes.
I built back the relationship with my parents. And for the first time in 30 years, since I've been out, my stepdad said something to me over the phone. He said, I need to talk to you. And I was like, oh no, now what? He found something out I did a long time ago. So as I'm embracing to take responsibility for what I thought I did, he says, I'm proud of you.
Oh, yes.
30 years. It took me 30 years to make that man say he was proud of me. And you know what? I could have done it 30 years ago. I just had to make better decisions. Being an addict doesn't mean we're destroyed. we're a little bumped and bruised. Who isn't? When he told me that, I literally cried. And it takes a lot for me to cry, but he made me do it. And for once I felt good about it. It cleansed me. And I thanked him. And they did something that really shocked me. My parents would never ask me to come home, because they knew that if I did, I would destroy that relationship. My mom was not willing to do that. Me and my stepdad had a strained relationship because he was not my father. He stepped into a ready-made family. There was 3 of us kids, me and my 2 older sisters. And I have brothers and sisters from my father, and I don't really know who they are. I've met a few of them. And by them asking me to come home, it showed not only that they could still love me no matter what, which I learned Jesus does the same thing.
Amen.
Yes.
Yes.
I looked at my life and I looked back at it and I looked and I said, you know what? I used to think, how could Jesus let all the things happen to me that had happened to me and still say he loves me? I didn't believe it. So I walked away. I said, he walked away from me and let me go through all this, so I'm walking away from him. Well, little did I know, he didn't walk away. He stepped aside and let me make my own choices because I needed to learn.
Yeah.
It was a hard lesson to learn. It took me a lot of years. But as I stand up here today, I can say that I am grateful for the lessons that I've learned. And I'm grateful that he didn't
Come
do it.
on. Yes.
Because had he done it for me, I wouldn't have learned the things I've learned. I wouldn't have gained the knowledge that I've gained. And I wouldn't have the friends that I have today. The people that are in this building, I consider my friends and family.
Yeah.
I've walked away from all the other people that I know. You know, I had, not that long ago, my little brother called from Oregon, and he struggled with meth addiction like I did, and we've been high several times together. He got clean from meth before I did. And he went to Oregon to start a new life. Started drinking heavily in Oregon, and he called me. And him and I have always had a relationship where we'd always be honest with each other. If I was using, he would still ask me for advice, and I would still tell him I'm using. I give you the advice, but I can't follow it myself. So he called me about 3 weeks ago and said he wanted to go into treatment. And I thought, okay, great. Told him I think it was a great idea and I think he should do it. And I didn't hear from him for about a week. Last week I got here and he was standing outside the front door.
Amen.
Yes.
And I thank the Lord that he was able to come here. He's now sitting in the back row. It shows me that there is unconditional love no matter what we do, no matter what we say, what we've done.
That's right. Come on.
I love you, man.
It took me a lot to ask for forgiveness, not just with people, but with God. It's very difficult to admit when you're wrong, and it's very humbling. So as I stand here today and give you this testimony, no matter what you go through in your life, no matter what you've been through or what you will go through, there's absolutely nothing that you can't do with his help.
Amen.
What I'm doing in my recovery today to help me recover is I'm standing up here today to share very difficult situations in my life, things that I've been through that are hard. I'm also going to church regularly. I text Clay every morning, tell him I hope he has a blessed day. Check on him during the day just to see how he is, and it helps me as well. I go to NA meetings. I'm starting to read more about the recovery program. I've been clean for several years, and I just started working on recovery. So it's never too late,
No.
and it's never too lost.
That's right. Come on. Come on.
So for those of you that have lost hope, you haven't lost it, you set it down, pick it back up, let's go.
Right.
So with that, I'll
Amen.
Way to go, Richie! Way to go, Richie.